I wanted to show you guys a basic strategy to go about beating PrizePicks and Underdog. And then at the end of this video, I'll give you guys a more advanced strategy as well. Let's go ahead and get into it. So a lot of people have done this video in the past on YouTube. So it's going to be kind of echoing that same thing, but hopefully in a more absorbable fashion in terms of the information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some NHL props from earlier today. So two lines that I bet on earlier today were Kevin Hayes over shots on goal at -165, and then Seth Jarvis under shots on goal at -165. So in simple, if we were to place $5 bet on this, which I think is the average unit size for players playing on PrizePicks. So I'm going to use 5 for this example. If you bet $5 there, based off of this bet, you would win $12.89. Now let's look at that same bet on PrizePicks. It's going to pay out $15. Now the question that some of you might be asking would be, it's like, okay, well, why does that matter? Well, it's going to be because of the odds that we are getting. Both of these are going to be set at -165. So for a bet to be at -165, that's essentially saying that we have a 62.3% chance for that line to hit. But with that, we do have to look at the other side of it. So for Kevin Hayes, for example, his over is set at -165. So once again, the odds for that would be 62.3% chance for the over to hit. But we do see this other number there, which is going to be +135. So plus 135 is actually going to be 43%. Now, if we do the math there, which is 43% plus 62.3%, we get a total of 105.3%. Now, some of you are probably wondering, well, why is that? Well, that's because the sportsbooks have juice in their lines. And that's the summary of that is that the juice is going to be the way that the sports books don't lose money pretty much. And so another term for juice is going to be vig. So to really get the exact odds for an individual bet, you can really type in any sort of calculator that's out there. Just type in no vig calculator. So what I want to do is I want to do based off of a $5 unit bet, we'll do the -165 and then the plus 135. We're going to calculate that so we can see the true projection of this would be -146, which would set the line at 59% chance to hit, and for the under to hit 41% of the time. Now, obviously 41% is still a decent amount, but 59% we would certainly take. But now the question is, we get how the juice works, we get how the lines work, the probability of a line hitting, but we also get this number for the 2-pick parlay on DraftKings. Okay, so they're paying out $12.89 on this $5 bet, and they're giving it a +157 chance. Now, why is that? When you combine two bets, obviously that's going to reduce the likelihood of a total bet hitting. You know, you place two individual bets together, that's going to change the total odds. So once again, if we look at this +157, we go to this spreadsheet. This is just a calculated spreadsheet for the probability of a line to hit. So at +157, we can see about, let's just say, a 38.5% chance to hit in between these two. Okay, 38.5. And now, why is that significant? Well, the way PrizePicks is set up is that they have the 2-pick power play set up to pay out essentially based off of a 33% likelihood for that prop to hit. Okay. And that's just taking $5 divided by 15, 33%. So as long as you are cashing over 33% of the time, you are going to be profiting. And that is why chasing a good line, good odds that we are getting on a bet, putting them together, we can gain an edge of about 5% here. 33 or 38 minus 33, that's about 5% edge. Now, yes, there could be more that goes into it and whatnot, but that is the basic summary of it. Okay, so the basic strategy would be to chase good lines. And so now, why are these ones at 2.5 for more and 2.5 for less? And then why are they like that on here as well? Well, PrizePicks, they're not going to change their payout structure. That is not how their site works. Their payout structure is the appeal of PrizePicks. It really is. And so you know that with a 2-leg bet, a power play, if you bet $5 on this and they both hit, you're going to win $15. Now, you can't say the same for something like DraftKings Sportsbook. And I'm just using DraftKings Sportsbook as an example. So if we were to pull in 2 random bets, and let's just say 2 -20 bets here, -20 and -20. If we were to put a $5 the unit bet on there, we can see that this is actually going to pay out more. Why? Because it's less likely to hit. That's why they're going to pay out more. And so we can see that by this plus 236 number. And so once again, if we go up here, we can see plus, let's just go with 235, close enough. That's about a 30% average. So let's just say you were going to place that bet on PrizePicks. Sure, it could hit, right? In the long term, if you chase bets like that though, you're going to lose, okay? Whereas if we are chasing good value-based bets like this one, we can see that we are gaining an edge on PrizePicks by playing on there. And if we continue to do bets like this on PrizePicks, we can see that in the long term, we should be gaining an edge there. And it might not seem like much, but that is a big edge. Now, how does PrizePicks combat that? Because DraftKings Sportsbook is giving us these odds of -165 simply because they're not going to bump up these players' projection to an even push of 3 for the over and under. And for Seth Jarvis's case, it'd actually be 2. They're not giving those lines, okay? It's all a half, okay? That is how they're setting their line. Whereas PrizePicks, they will adjust it if they see a great line out there. So what they will do, and I'm not sure how they go about doing this, it might just be simply a volume of a bet that is being made on a certain player. They might have an employee that does some sort of data validation by looking at content that's out there for the day and saying, oh, we need to adjust this number. It's a good number. Or they might, and it's probably this case, they have some sort of notification set into their data that says this line has adjusted. It's changed from what we originally expected. And that's the thing. All these sports books, PrizePicks, Underdog as well, they all have somewhat of a different formula so that it might spit out something slightly different. And it's really just when that update comes in for the data. That is how we gain an edge on the field. So we can see though, and I would imagine it's kind of all three of those, kind of coming together for PrizePicks, a little bit of data validation for all those. We can see the adjustment that PrizePicks made. They set it, the projection set at an even push of 3 shots on goal for Kevin Hayes. Once again, I don't really know exactly why that is. It could be a mixture of all those 3 reasons. And then we also see Seth Jarvis has been changed as well, down to 2 shots on goal, properly projected as a push. And this is something that throughout the day, throughout the sports, I'm just using NHL as an example, there are going to be favorable lines out there that you can attack. So I'm going to go ahead and use this bet as another example. Once again, using that $5 unit size. This is a bet that I just made based off of the board that's out there because they haven't adjusted these ones just yet. So finding lines that are -165 is both very rare and very lucky. That's kind of why I start out my videos, typically speaking, talking about today's board because, well, every day the board is different. It's very rare that you're going to get odds available that are going to be really -140 or better. Okay. It's typically -140. And so here is an example though of that prop that I found a few minutes ago. -145. So as a whole, 59% chance to hit. This is with juice. And then this would be what it is without. So 56% chance to hit. Now, once again, individually, that's very strong. Now, if we pair those two together, it's going to be about +181. And so the payout is closer to PrizePicks, but we can still see that we are gaining an edge on PrizePicks by chasing this bet there. And so at +181, let's see the edge that we are gaining. It's about a 36% chance for that bet to hit. Once again, that is still over that average, that 33% average that we want to hit the over on. And so once again, this would be a bet that in the long term, we're going to see it be a profitable approach. Now, where do you start to lose an edge? It'd be in a situation like this. And this is where kind of the magic number, and I'm just going to round up to -138, is going to be -138. You never want to chase a line that's going to be lower than -138, or else you're going to be better off placing that bet on a sports book rather than you would be on PrizePicks. So this is like the best example I could do. Fine for that, +198. We go here, we can see it's in between this, obviously, closer to 200, so 33%. Basically an even push. So we can see that we are then losing the edge that we have by chasing those favorable lines. And so that is where people can really start to get a little bit too loose and start using the wrong bets with that. Now let's go ahead and talk about a much better way to go about applying this strategy. So to me, the number one mistake that players make on PrizePicks, and even Underdog for that matter, is not taking advantage of the tacos or free squares properly. And so what do I mean by that? And so let's go ahead and use this example once again. Now, the nice thing about free squares, and what I mean by that is typically speaking, PrizePicks will have some sort of 0.5 bet that's going to be a free square eventually. They do it for the Super Bowl. They did it for NBA second half. They'll do it for MLB. They'll continually do that. That's a good way for them to draw in bets and more users to their site. It's a good marketing and advertising strategy That's going to be something that's going to be consistently there until people start betting it properly. So let's go ahead and use these two bets as an example. So once again, using Kevin Hayes, but we're only going to use one bet here. So we're not going to combine two bets together. And why is that? Well, because it should be a free square. So once again, if we go ahead and use that no vig calculator, now we can go ahead and just set it at minus 165 again and plus 135. Now that bet with the free square has a 59% chance to hit instead of about a 38% chance to hit. And so that is where people really start to get lost if they start adding on too many bets onto a taco or a free square. This is why I always tell people, please just bet the best lines that we are getting possible. So in this situation, if this were Tuesday, it's not, it's Friday. If these two lines were out there when a taco was out, which might not always be the case, they're pretty tight on Tuesdays, it seems like. But if it was, we would have two bets that have a probability of hitting 59%. And that's not exactly true with tacos, I know. It's not 100% of a lock. Okay. It's going to be about, let's just say, an 80 to 90% chance for it to hit. In 2023, the PrizePicks tacos have been really awesome. And so like on the year in 2023, it has hit at a 90% rate, which we'll take that. We will certainly take that. So 90% of the time the taco is going to hit. And I feel like that's still too high, guys. Like I would say like 80 to 90%, whatever. Still, that's going to hit a majority of the time. And if we can find bets that are going to be over a 50% likelihood to hit, we can see how that'll be profitable in the long term. And so a good example of that is going to be the sheet that I had made up, okay? And this is going to be based off of 5 individual $5 bets on Taco Tuesday. And that's because unless you have a cap, it's going to be, they let you do $25 bets, up to $25 bets on each taco. Okay, and there's 3 tacos per day. And then the free squares is typically $20 is the max that you can put, sometimes 25. Let's just say all the tacos hit here. And let's say you hit 3 bets in the first one, 3 bets in the second, and then only 2 in the second one. You are going to be profiting $45. And so let's just say that hits for the month at that exact same rate. You would thus be winning $180 for the month. And now why did I do 8 total bets? Well, that's 53% of them hitting, okay? Which should be based off of the strategy that I was saying. And I'll just use this as an example. If we can find a bet that's like minus 140, which then the odds of the other odds would be 105. Thus, the probability would be about 54%. Basically the same thing. And on average, these are going to be the props that are out there, especially on Taco Tuesday when we can make those bets. So about 54%. Now, yes, the taco is not always going to hit. There's going to be some times in which the taco doesn't hit. But let's just break that down further. Let's say one of the tacos does not hit. So whatever the bets that you hit, it doesn't matter. But we can still see if we win 6 bets total on the night, we are going to be profiting. And so that's why I say like a free square or Taco Tuesdays, we should be using that as pretty much promo money is what I like to say. Because if we use a bet that's going to be an awesome number like this, it's going to be profitable in the long term. So like quite clearly, the number one mistake that people are making are just adding too many legs to their bets, especially when it comes to Taco Tuesday. Now, sure, if it's a Friday, Flex Friday, and you want to make that one bet based off of that, by all means, chase that, okay? Stack it up. But that's not what you should be doing when they're trying to offer you free money. And guys, you can apply this strategy to college basketball, NHL, MLB, NBA, NFL, tennis, just check the line. And it works for all those sports. The only ones it doesn't work for is going to be golf. And for golf, it's kind of nice for me. And this is where kind of the advanced strategy comes in, is that we can kind of game the game. But I think a better example would actually be NBA. So right now, as it sits, we got Mike Conley at 6.5 assists. Okay. So if we go ahead and look at DK Sportsbook, we can see that they are setting this line at minus 140. So once again, without taking out the juice, it's going to be 58%. With the juice taken out, 54%. Good favorable odds. But to me, there's another step that we can take. And I'm not trying to sell a tool or anything like that. I want to make this very clear. You could use any sort of projections that are out there for DFS. And that's kind of the beauty of this, is that we can use DFS projections as well. I'm just using my tool on my site as an example for this, okay? Not trying to sell, okay? To me, it's just easy for me to put out this content for you guys like this. So we can see that the average sportsbooks odds here, and so not just pulling in DraftKings, all the other ones, we can see minus 131 across the board. When I had started this video, it was actually better. It was minus 145. So it's updated. That sucks, but whatever. Still, we'll see. The average sportsbook line has it set at 6.5. And then PrizePicks has it set at 6.5. But his projection is actually a little bit higher, 8.32. And so once again, you could use any other projection source out there to double confirm. And so like the thing with NBA DFS projections or NFL DFS projections is that they could be slightly different than the sports books. And it's just another kind of secondary thing you can do to get confirmation on a prop. And so why is Mike Conley a strong bet today? It's because his projected minutes are going to be expected to be higher than his average minutes. And that could be something that maybe PrizePicks is not adjusting for. That's something like Vegas is adjusting for, but that's why they have the line set at minus 140 or the odds set at minus 140 instead of something else, because they are expecting his minutes to go up. And so that's a slight adjustment they can make where PrizePicks isn't making that. If anything, they would bump up Mike Conley's PrizePicks projection. And I'll pull up the board here after this example to see if they did, because I'm assuming if we're seeing some changes on DraftKings, that might have happened. And like just based off of his average, he should be able to get over. Based off of his projected minutes and average, should be able to get over. Based off of the opponent per minute production times what his projection is minutes wise, should be able to get over. So what the Vegas line has it set at, which right now is minus 131, which is set based off of his average minutes, it would be 7.15, still over. And so that's how we get this projection. So here's a situation in which maybe I wouldn't make this bet. It's tight. Chris Paul assist is set at 9.5 for the over. The over odds are at minus 138. Once again, that's the magic number. We want to be over minus 138, but we can see projected to get 9.5. Now let's see if there's any reason why. Actually projected to get more minutes. It's just a tight line. So probably just one that we want to stay away from. And so once again, I want to make this very clear, not trying to sell this tool. I am not. There's other ones out there that you can use. This is a bonus tool that I have available for current members. This is just an example. But what you could do is thus use the lines that we're getting projection-wise, use the projected minutes that we're getting, and come up with players that are expected to be under their fantasy points and then also over their fantasy points. So we got the over. One that I like is going to be PJ Washington. We can see it's because he's projected to get 3 more minutes than he typically does. And so in theory, it should be a good line. Now, the opposite of that would be Anthony Edwards gets a more difficult matchup, and so the minutes are staying the same, but the matchup is going to be tougher, and the 47 number seems a little bit too high. And I was curious, they did bump the Conley one. That's funny. And that's a big thing, guys. It's that this stuff changes throughout the day. Okay, it does. And that's one thing I want to call out, is that if you are making a bet based off of a line, it could change throughout the day. NHL-wise, I actually got extremely lucky with this Seth Jarvis one. When I had made the bet on PrizePicks, this line was set at like minus 145 at the start of the day. It could also flip, okay? I've seen it where we'll have a very strong number like this at the start of the day, minus 150 for the under to hit. And then we could see it flip actually the other way. Now that's rare, but it could happen. And the thing with PrizePicks is you can't withdraw your entry. You can't withdraw your bet. That can be a good thing, or it could be a bad thing. Really depends on the bet. And you can, it's after 5 minutes, so you can't. And so that's kind of my way of saying, like, you can bet on sports that you might not have a perfect knowledge base on. For me, I know NHL, I know college basketball, I kind of know all these sports a decent amount. To me, I would say I most know in terms of like DFS and fantasy, it would be NBA, for sure golf, and then NFL. Okay. So with that, obviously, if you are still doing these strategies by looking at the lines, using your knowledge, and then looking at the projections for a sport that you can see why, one, chasing the good lines, chasing the good projections, why that would yield more success than just chasing the sport or lines in which you don't have prior knowledge on. Because sometimes the lines that are out there are based off of the public's bet, the volume that the public is betting on a certain one, and they might not be right. And so that's where it could get a little bit trappy. And now there's like a lot more that I could cover. I want it to be as trimmed down, as concentrated, as simple as possible. Hopefully I achieved that. I'm not sure if I did, but hopefully I did. But that's all for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you can take that knowledge and use it to keep cashing.